Broiler nutrition. Nutrition is a major impact variable upon broiler productivity, profitability, and welfare. The formulation and balancing of diet require specialist nutrition skills, but farm managers should be aware of the nutritional content of their feed. Farm managers should consider routine analysis of the feed they receive. This will help determine if expected dietary nutrient content are being achieved and that the feed is the best available for their particular production circumstances. Knowledge of the make-up of the diet being fed to the birds will mean the farm manager can ensure that the feed level and consumption will provide adequate level of daily nutrient intake. There is proper and expected balance between feed, nutrient, routine. Laboratory analysis of the diet can be useful. Interpreted and correct action taken, such as alternating the provider of possible discrepancies, appropriate management of the feed program. The owner or the manager of the farm should be aware of the nutritional content of the feeds and make analysis of this feed to take decision if he needs either alternating the provider of possible discrepancies or appropriate management of feed program, change the feed program to fulfill his needs. Supply of nutrients. Feed ingredients. The feed ingredients used for broiler diet should be fresh and of high quality, both in item of digestibility and nutrients. Physical quality. The main ingredients included in broiler diet are wheat, maize, soya meal, fat, sunflower meal, oil, limestone, phosphate, sodium bicarbonate, mineral. Energy. Broiler require energy for tissue growth, maintenance, activity. The major sources of energy in poultry feed are cereal grain, primarily carbohydrate and fat and oil. Dietary energy levels are expressed in megacalorie of metabolizable energy, as this represents the energy available to the broiler. Protein. Feed protein, such as those found in cereal grain and soybean meal, are complex compounds which are broken down by digestion into amino acids. These amino acids are absorbed and assembled into the body protein, which are used in the consumption of body tissue, muscle, nerve, skin, liver. Dietary crude protein levels don't indicate the quality of the protein in feed ingredients. Dietary protein quality is based on the level, balance, and digestibility of essential amino acids in the final mixed feed. The essential amino acid availability in the final mixed feed. The modern broiler represents the very digestible amino acid density and will respond well in terms of growth. Feed efficiency we feed the birds and follow its growth rate and the effect of these dietary or this ration we make, and carcass components yield response. The balanced ration, the will feed any birds will be respond properly to this ration. Higher level of digestible amino acids have been shown to further improve broiler performance and processing yield. However, feed ingredient prices and meat product value will determine the economical appropriate nutrient density to be fed. We speak about the energy and its component and the protein and the macro minerals. Provide the proper level and balance of macro minerals are important to support growth, skeletal development, and immune system and feed conversion ratio. As to maintain litter quality, they are particularly important in high-performance broilers. The macro minerals involve calcium, phosphorus, sodium, potassium, chloride, calcium, and phosphorus are particularly important for proper skeletal development. The ratio between calcium and phosphorus must be taken into consideration. Excess level of sodium, phosphorus, chloride can cause increased water consumption and subsequent litter quality issues. Trace minerals and vitamins are required for all metabolic functions. The appropriate supplementary level of these micronutrients depend on the feed ingredients used, the feed manufacture process, feed handling, logistic, storage condition, length of time in the farm feed, local circumstances like soils can vary in the trace mineral content, and feed ingredient grown in some geographic areas may be deficient in some cereal, in some element. There are usually separate recommendations proposed for some vitamins depending on the cereal grain. Feeding program. For broilers, we use 3 types of feed: starter and grower and finisher. Starter: during the incubation period, the chicks uses the egg as a nutrient supply. However, during the first few days of life, post-hatch chicks must undergo the physiological transition to obtain their nutrient from supplied manufactured feed. At this time, feed intake is at its lowest and nutrient intake requirements are at their highest. The amount is low, but we need to concentrate energy, protein for the chick. Not only must the proper dietary nutrient concentration be provided, but also the right environmental conditions to establish and develop good chick appetite. An example of guideline nutritional value for starter feed are given in what's called broiler nutrient specification for every breed in the guide of the breed. Final body weight performance is positively corrected with early growth rate. 7-day body weight, ensuring chicken get off to a good start is critical. The starter feed must be of high quality and is normally feed for a period of 10 days, but can give him up to 14 days if target weight are not being achieved. Chicks that not start well are more susceptible to disease challenge, compromise weight gain, environmental stressor, poor breast meat quality. Feeding the recommended nutrient level during the starter period will support good early growth and physiological development, ensuring body weight objectives and good health and welfare are achieved. Feed consumption during the first 10 to 14 days of chick life represent a small proportion of the total feed consumed and feed cost processing. Therefore, decision on a starter formulation should be based primarily on promoting good biological performance and overall profitability rather than pure on individual diet cost. Grower feed. The grower feed is normally fed from 14 to 16 days. The transition from starter feed to grower feed will involve a challenge of texture from crumble or mini pellet to pellet, and also change in nutrient density. Depending on the pellet size produced, it may be necessary to provide the first delivery grower as a crumb or mini pellets to prevent any reduction in feed intake due to, for example, pellet size being too large for chicks when first delivered for grower is made. During the period of grower feed, broiler during the period of growth, grower feed is fed. Broiler daily growth rate continue to increase rapidly. This growth phase must be supported by adequate nutrient intake to achieve optimum biological performance. The provision of the correct dietary nutrient density. For more detail, transition from starter to grower feed must be well managed to prevent any reduction in intake or growth. Finisher feed are generally feed after 25 days of age to optimize profitability. Broiler grown to ages beyond 42 days will require additional finisher feed. Decision on the number of broiler finisher feed to include will depend upon the desired age, weight, and processing and feed manufacturer capabilities. Broiler finisher feed account for most of the total feed intake and cost of feeding a broiler. Finisher feed must be designed to optimize financial return for the type of production being product. For example, for the nutrition value finisher feed are given in the specification. We will speak about the broiler specification, nutrition specification with the product. Depending on local legislation, withdrawal feed will be required when regulated pharmaceutical feed additives are used. The main reason withdrawal feed is used is to provide sufficient time prior to processing to eliminate the risk of pharmaceutical product residue occurring in the meat product. Producers are advised to refer to the local legislation to determine the withdrawal time required. Sometimes we need to separate the male and female broiler from each other for commercial purposes. Feed from the physical feed and physical feed quality. Broiler growth is the result of dietary nutrient content and feed intake. Feed intake is affected by feed form. The best feed intake occurs on good quality crumbled, mini pellet or pellet feed, which has an uneven particle size may increase feed wastage. Smaller particles easily fall from the bird. Big chicks showing higher level of fine below 1 mm in size or mash feed will waste more feed. Feed spoilage and wastage will substantially reduce the feed efficiency. Broiler growth and feed efficiency are improved by pelleting feed. This performance improved by attribute decrease feed wastage, reduce selective feeding, decrease ingredient segregations, less time and energy expended for eating, extraction of pathogenic organisms, thermal modification of starch and protein, improve feed profitability. Here we find a table: feed form and recommended particle size by age in broiler from 0 to 10 days, mini pellets, seed crumble, the particle size from 1 to 5 to 3 mm diameter, in mini pellet from 1.5 to 3 mm, from 11 to 18 days, mini pellet 1.6 to 2.4 mm diameter, 4 to 7 mm length, 18 days to finish pellets from 3 to 4 diameter. When feeding mash, special attention should be paid to having a coarse or uniform particle size distribution. This will generally require grinding the primary cereal grain to a mean diameter of 900 to 1000 micron, where circumstances dictate that the mash rather than a crumble or pellet be used. Adequate performance can be achieved, especially where maize is the principal cereal. Mash feed will benefit from the inclusion of some of fat and oil infiltration to reduce dustiness. Here, example, we find the good quality pellet and mash feed. Here the seeded crumble. Testing feed physical quality. Physical quality of feed is particularly assessed by the size of the feed particle actually present to the bird. It's often difficult to assess this on the farm, where subject opinion can lead to the poor description of the feed texture. Methods for measure feed quality using shaker sieve device, which qualify the vertical size distribution of feed in straightforward and easily observed manner. This is the avian sample taken should represent the physical feed quality that actually represent the bird. Sample should be taken from the hopper closest to the feeder. the feed physical quality testing shaker sieve comes with instructions, and this is from aviation company. Particle size profile. The particle size, recommended particle size distribution of crumble and pellet are shown in this table. In starter and grower and finisher, the crumble 15%, the pellet 17%, the finisher, the pellet 70, less than 70%. The shaker sieve can also be used to assess the particle size distribution of mash feed. An example of suitable mash particle size distribution are included here: the particle and the coarse mash. Whole grain feeding, the feeding of balancer feed with whole grain, wheat, oat, barley should either be without husk, may reduce feed cost per ton for saving in feed manufacture. Whole grain feeding support a better gut microflora, enhance digestive efficiency, and improve litter condition. However, it must be offset against loss of eviscerated or breast meat yield unless the pelleted balancer feed composition is adjusted to compensate for the inclusion of the whole grain. The level of inclusion and nutrient profile of grain being utilized must be precisely accounted for in formulating the compound and balancer feed. In an appropriate adjustment is not made, livestock performance will be compromised as the diet will have an inappropriate nutrient balance. Caution must be exercised when using antioxidant and other drugs in the feed to ensure legal usage level. Feed additives. There are a number of feed additives that can be added to the diet which may support feeding and metabolism, enzyme, medicine, pro and prebiotic, feed preservative and antioxidant, blend feed under all developmental conditions. Correctly balanced diet level together with the use of feed ingredients with higher level of digestibility will help to minimize the effect of high environmental temperature. Provide optimal feed from good quality crumble pellet will minimize the energy expended to consume feed and thereby reduce the heat generated during feeding. Optimal feed form will also improve feed acceptability and help feed intake occur during cooler period of the day, providing an increase in amount of feed energy delivered from feed, fat or oil rather than the carbohydrate during hot weather has been shown to be beneficial due to the reduced heat produced when the diet is metabolizable. Environment. Nitrogen and ammonia emission can be reduced by minimizing excessive protein level in the feed. It's most effectively achieved through formulating diet to meet recommended level of digestible essential amino acids. Phosphorus excretion rate can be reduced by avoiding excess provision. Digestibility can be enhanced by the incorporation of phytase enzyme in the diet. Litter quality. Moisture level will produce less ammonia into lower litter moisture level will produce less ammonia into the atmosphere, which help reduce respiratory stress. Food baths, dermatitis incidence is also reduced with good litter quality. In circumstances where management, health, environmental practice are already good, the following nutrition strategies will help to maintain good litter quality. Protein quality. Failure to supply the correct level of balanced protein from good quality raw material will result in high level of uric acid being formed in the liver and excreted by the kidneys. This stimulates water intake, has a negative impact upon gut health, cause weight dropping, which will result in weight litter, increased risk of food, bad dermatitis. Minerals. Incorrect supply or balance of dietary sodium potassium chloride level can potentially result in weight loss. The addition of phytase enzyme to broiler diet not only promotes the release of phosphorus from the plant material but also release of other minerals. This must be accounted for when formatting the raw material digestibility. The use of raw materials that have low digestibility or are particularly high in fiber should be minimized, as these will have a negative effect upon gut integrity, excreta, water content, and litter quality. Anti-nutritional factor, trypsin inhibitor, should be minimized, and raw material must be free from high level of mycotoxin contamination. If it's impossible to avoid poor quality raw material, then appropriate mycotoxin binding product should be considered for inclusion in the feed mix. The use of non-starch polysaccharides enzyme can be an important tool for improving gut health and controlling litter quality. The enzymes reduce gut viscosity and will lead to drier litter. In recent years, particularly in areas of Western Europe, North America, there has been a move of vegetarian, protein, and antibiotic-free diet, which make drier litter more difficult to maintain. Fat quality. High digestibility fats will promote enteric health in broiler. The use of poor quality fat often cause greasy and sticky litter, which can lead to problems in body weight. Feed physical form. The benefit to broiler liver performance from feeding good quality granule pellets have been referred to earlier. A feed that is poor physical quality, which high level of fine and does not only lead to problems with broiler performance, but will also lead to an increase of ratio of water to feed intake, which in turn may lead to poor litter condition and ultimate increase of risk of food dermatitis. Anticoccidial program. Generally, there is a benefit to gut health from the use of anticoccidial. These products typically improve gut integrity to maintain litter condition. If using live vaccine or coccidia control in broiler, greater care and attention to gut health is required to ensure good litter condition is maintained. Anticoccidia can raise body temperature, so should be used with care in hot climate. Drinking system. Both should have unlimited access to clean, fresh, good quality drinking water at all times. When water intake is naturally low, for example, during a dark period when birds are inactive, some control of water supply may help to reduce unnecessary water leakage and corresponding litter problem. Any such control need to be managed with care. There must be no restriction in the amount of water offered to growing birds, and balance must be found between growth, welfare, potential food, bad dermatitis. Inadequate water supply, either in volume or in number of drinking points, will result in reduced growth rate. To ensure that the flock is receiving sufficient water, the ratio of water to feed consumed each day should be monitored. Change in water intake can be an earlier indication of health and performance issues. Water consumption should be monitored daily using a water meter. Water meter must match flow rates with pressure. It's good practice to use water meters that measure water flow at low pressure to ensure the accurate measurement of water intake occur even for chicks and young birds. A minimum of 1 water meter is required per hour, but preferably more should be installed to allow within house zoning. Water requirement will vary with feed consumption. The birds are consuming sufficient water when the ratio of water volume to feed weight remain close to 1.8 to 1 for pill drinker, 1.7 to 1 for nipple drinker with cups, 1.6 to 1 for nipple drinker without cups. Water requirements will also vary with ambient temperature. Birds will drink more water at higher ambient temperature. Water requirement increases by approximately 6.5 per 1 increase in temperature over 21 in tropical areas. Prolonged high temperature will double daily water consumption. In hot weather, it's good practice to flush the drinker lines at regular interval to ensure that water doesn't get too warm. Here the effect of water temperature on the water intake. Water temperature is then 5. Too cold reduce water intake from 18 to 21. It's ideal temperature. Greater than 30. Too warm reduce water intake. Above 44 birds refuse to drink. Adequate water storage must be provided on the farm in case of failure of main supply. Ideal sufficient storage to provide 24-hour water at maximum consumption is required. All drinkers should be checked for high daily and adequate adjusted if required. Drinkers should be maintained in clean condition, free from any litter and fecal material, and in good working order. Any build-up of calcium deposits should be removed using a suitable cleaning product during the house clean out process. Water quality in the region where good quality water is not readily available, it's often necessary to treat water with, for example, chlorine, ultraviolet light, for it's consumed by the bird. Further information for biosecurity. Nipple drinker. Minimum nipple drinker requirement post-brooding are given. Additional supplement drinker should be supplied. The actual number of birds per nipple will depend on the flow rates within the breeding age climate. Nipple here, if nipple drinker need the requirement more than kilogram, 12 birds per nipple. If we need the less than 3 kilogram, 3 birds per nipple. Nipple line should be flushed immediately prior to plasma twice daily for first 4 days to ensure the chicks are supplied with cool fresh water. Drinking line heat should be low at the beginning of the flock, increased as the bird get older. Drinker lines that are too high can strict bird water consumption, while water lines that are too low can result in wet litter. In the initial stage of brooding, the nipple line should be placed at a high head which the bird is able to drink. The back of the bird should from here 35 with the floor while drinking is progress. As the bird grows, the nipple should be raised so the back of the bird form an angle of approximately 75 with the floor, and so the birds are stretching slightly like this when it's younger. It's older. Birds should be reaching for hours, not stretching or straining to reach the nipple, so the water will flow directly from the nipple into the beak. If the nipple is too low, birds may turn their head to drink, causing water to fall onto the litter. For ease of access of optimum water availability, birds should be, where possible, be grown using 360 type nipple, which is particularly important where large birds are being grown. Flow rate. Nipple drinker flow rate should be checked on a weekly basis during the grower cycle to ensure that the water supply is high enough to meet maximum demands for daily water intake. Nipple drinker flow rates can be measured by placing the measured cylinder onto the nipple at the end of the nipple line to activate the flow of the water through the nipple for 1 minute. The amount of water in the measuring cylinder indicates a flow rate through each nipple in nipple line per minute. Higher than expected flow rate for age may increase leakage and related with litter problem. A lower than expected flow rate may not allow enough water for all birds to drink and lead to problem with dehydration. Measuring the static flow rate of the nipple can help to identify the problem within the drinking system. Here, recommended flow rate at the age of giving. It's important that manufacturer recommendations are followed for the specific type of drinker being used. Here, the bird age from 0 to 7 days, 20 ml per minute, 7 to 21 days, 60 to 7 ml per minute. More than 21 days, 70 to 100 ml per minute. Per drinker at placement, a minimum of 6 per drinker, 40 cm for 17 cm should be provided per 1000 word. Additional source of water in the form of 15 supplementary drinker per 1000 chicks should be available for at first 3 days. Per drinker and supplementary drinker should be filled with water 1 hour period to chick replacement. This will ensure water remain fresh and free from contamination, and that water temperature is adequate when the chicks arrive. As the broiler become older and the area of the house is expanded, the number of per drinker 1000 should be increased. These should be placed evenly throughout the house so that no broiler has to travel more than 2 meters to gain access to water. As a guide, water level should be 0.6 centimeters in below the top of the drinker until approximately 7 to 10 days of age. After 10 days of age, there should be about 0.6 centimeters of water in base of the drinker to prevent spillage. Per drinker should have a ballast filter to keep them level. Additional mini drinker and trays used when chicks are day old should be removed gradually so that by 3 to 4 days all chicks are drinking from the automatic drinker. Minimum drinker requirement per 1000 bird post brooding are given in this table. Per drinker, 8 drinker 14 centimeter or 17 inch in diameter per 1000 birds. Drinker should be checked for heat daily and adjusted so that the base of the drinker is of the breast of the 18 days onwards. Here we find the birds. Find the drinker simply. Make drinker water available to birds 24 hours a day. Provide supplementary drinker for first 3 days of flock. Monitor the feed to water ratio daily to check that water intake is sufficient. Make allowance for increased water consumption at high temperature. Flush drinker line in hot weather to ensure that the water is as cool as possible. Just the drinker heat daily. Provide adequate drinker space and ensure that drinkers are easily accessible to all ports. Keep drinker in a state of good repair. Feeding system. For the first 10 days of life, feed should be provided in form of scramble or mini belt. Feed should be placed in flat trays or in paper sheeting so that it's really accessible to the chicks. At least 80% of the floor should be covered with paper. Automatic seeding system should be flooded with feed at chick placement, allowing easy access to the starter feed. A total feed amount of approximately 40 grams per bird should be measured out and feed on the paper prior to chick placement or carry chick feeding behavior. Top up to feed on the paper regular interval during first 3 to 4 days. The change to the main feeding system should be made gradually from 4 to 5 as chicks begin to show more and more interest in the main feeding system. Transition to the main feeding system should be completed by 6 to 7 days. Any feed trays should be removed by 7 days of age. When transition to the main feeding system is complete, feed should gradually be changed from crumble or mini pellet to good quality pellet. Note that birds should not receive full pellets before 18 days of age. Here, the actual diet provided to the bird will depend on life weight, depend on age, climate, type of house. Here, the pan feeder, 45-80 birds per pan, allowed lower ratio for bigger birds. Flatted chain auger, here the flatted chain auger, 20.5 centimeter for bird. We allow 2.5 0.5 centimeter in tube feeder. Here the flat chain in the tube feeder 70% per tube. All type of feeder should be adjusted to ensure minimum spillage or optimum access of the bird. The base of the trough and band should be level with the top of the breast. The height of the band and tube feeder may be adjusted individually. The height chain feeder is adjusted by which feeder leg adjusted. Feed should be distributed equally and uniformly through the feeding system to allow equal opportunity to all birds to eat at the same time. Uneven feed distribution can result in lower performance, scratching, damage associated with competition for feeder. Increase feed spillage to ensure equal feed distribution. All depth adjustment settings should be set the same on each feed, band or tube. Band and the tube feeder system may require adjustment to be made to each individual feeder. Adjustment of feed depth is easier with the chain feeder system, as single adjustment to hover only is required. Careful maintenance of the chain feeder will minimize incidence of leg damage to bird. When managed correctly, band and the tube feeder, if filled automatically, have the advantage that they are all filled simultaneously, making the feed available to the bird immediately. The automated system should be regularly checked to confirm that bands or tubes are being filled correctly. When chain feeder are used, feed distribution takes longer to accomplish and feed is not immediately available to all the birds. In the early stage of the grow out, chain feeder should be monitored closely and run whenever feed level become too low. Feeder should only be empty if they are being cleared out. Chain feeder will need to be run more frequently throughout the day as birds get older and eat faster to ensure that the feed remains dropped. The bird age, the frequency of feed, and the linear relationship between the frequency of chain feeder up to bird age. Supplement the main feeding system using paper or tray over the first 3 days. Supply sufficient feeder for the number of birds in the house. Adjust feeder height daily so that the lip of the feeder is level with the top of the breast.